Welcome, everybody, to Mom Street USA. My name is Jackie, aka Wishes Mama, and I am joined on this hub episode by our good friends, Duck and Jess, aka Beanie Duck, over on TikTok. And today we are going to start part one of a multi-episode series where we are going to be talking about Universal. So today's goal is to talk about kind of the overview, and then in future episodes, we'll go more in depth about hotels and rides and all of the details of the events and all of that good stuff. But today we're just doing an overview. And again, I'm joined by Duck and Jess because they know Universal. I have been once and didn't go on a ton. So we are relying on their expertise for this episode. And I'm super excited to hear all of the information that they brought for us. Duck and Jess, how are we doing today?
Doing good. I'm thrilled to be considered an expert in something. Finally.
Woohoo! You're moving on up in the world.
It's all I've ever wanted. Thank you. You like me. You really like me.
It's perfect. It's good. You know, it's one of those things that on Mom Street, Kate and I both didn't have any, experience with Universal really. So it was like, well, I don't know that we really want to talk about it because we don't have a ton to talk about.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it's good. I'm glad that you guys are here and you can be our go-to when it comes to all these questions and everything. And it'll be super helpful for all of our listeners to get kind of an overview because, well, I'm sure we have several listeners, and I know we have several listeners who have also been to Universal and enjoy Universal. The majority of the people that listen here are Disney people, so it'll be a fun comparison.
Yeah, and I think that, or I hope that by the end of this series, people will feel more prepared to approach other theme parks outside of Disney.
Right.
I know it's so easy to just do the Disney vacation and to not stray and to be really comfortable, but there are other theme parks out there. I know this may be shocking. It was shocking to me when I first learned this.
What?
But there's so much more, especially in the Orlando area, that is offered. And Universal really does a great job with their parks and their offerings. And so I think people are just not really sure what to make of it because it is somewhat similar, but really very different from the way that Disney operates. So I think people get intimidated. So hopefully by the end of this, we'll feel more comfortable to approach the Universal world.
Yeah, and I think it's such a stigma, right? Disney versus Universal. You can only like one. You can't do both. But it's like, well, you can. It's okay.
Yes, we can. And you should. You really should.
Because they're so different.
Yes. The offerings are so different. And I think that there was, once upon a time, we'll talk more about this, but once upon a time, there was really this feeling around Universal that it was like the big kid park. And you graduated to Universal.
And that might have even been true at one point, like even as I want to say as soon as like 5 years ago, but they're really doing a lot more now to make it more family friendly.
Yeah. Especially with their expansion and their new park, which I could do it all.
It's like itching to talk about.
I literally wrote in the notes, I'm foaming at the mouth. That's Epic Universe.
I love it. I love it. Well, then let's jump in.
Yes.
And let's hear kind of just some general information. Like I said, tonight's goal is to give you just the rundown, talk about what they kind of have to offer, give you a couple little details here and there. And then next episode, we are going to jump into hotels and events is the plan, depending on how far we get. We don't want to make you listen to 5-hour long episodes, but we want to give you the information. And then likely the third episode will be more details about the parks and kind of maybe some itinerary, ideas and things like that for if you do decide to visit. So that's kind of where we're at. So for this episode, let's jump into our overview. Duck and Jess, what do you guys have for us to start?
All right. So the property as a whole, which is often just called Universal Orlando, is technically the official name is Universal Orlando Resort. So in the grand scheme of things, that's not really important. It doesn't matter what you call it, but kind of
true. It's important to me.
But for the next couple minutes, as we're kind of explaining the overview, it is kind of important to point out that this is a resort, right? So as of this recording, Universal Resort is made up of 9, soon to be 10 hotels, an entertainment district, 2 theme parks, and 1 water park, with a 3rd theme park opening up later this year in just like, a month or 2?
May 22nd.
Yeah. Yep. So that's coming up.
Not that I've memorized
Not that you
it.
have it circled and highlighted and everything on your calendar.
Longingly longingly stared at every single influencer who's been posting their early access.
Yeah. It's getting real.
It is.
It feels so weird that it's just around the corner, because if you know, like me, are just into theme parks in general, this has been talked about for years and years and years, and then it just felt like all of a sudden it
Like,
was
hey, we're ready.
quick. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Like, it felt like really in earnest. It all started last summer, so it feels like everything went up within a year, I mean, it didn't really, but it feels that way.
Yeah.
They're not that good.
Right. Right. Gosh. That would be crazy. But yeah, so basically, to compare this to Disney, what you just explained would be the equivalent of all of Disney's hotels, the 4 theme parks, the 2 water parks, and Disney Springs. Kind of what we consider on property at Disney would be the equivalent to what you guys were just talking about with the resort area for Universal, right?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have quite as much of like the Disney bubble kind of feel at Universal, but kind of in the same way that Disney has all the theme parks, the shopping, the hotels, Universal has the same kind of deal. So, the all the different sections that make up the resort. So first we have City Walk. So for Disney fans, this is kind of like their Disney Springs. So this is a shopping area. There are a bunch of different stores and restaurants. And then there is also some entertainment, like a movie theater and an escape room. So kind of similar to Disney Springs, how they have the movie theater, and other places like that. And some Universal merchandise stores as well. So similar to how Disney Springs has World of Disney, there are Universal specific shops to shop in there as well. So just like Disney Springs, anybody can show up to City Walk without a ticket and shop and eat. So if you just kind of are looking for something to do on an evening, maybe you're not going to be in the theme parks, we would definitely recommend maybe going to Margaritaville and getting some voodoo donuts for dessert.
There you go. That's it. That's the City Walk experience right there, right?
That's all you sold.
That's it. You can grab some
Margarita
Starbucks.
donuts.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
I will also say that there once upon a time was more shops there. Right now they are all just merch shops for Universal. So if you like a Universal property, or I guess it's really like anything Comcast owns or has a licensing deal with, like Hello Kitty. So if you like anything basically within the last like 50 years of cinema, right? You like Jaws, you like Back to the Future, you like E.T., any of those properties, if you don't really like want to go into the theme park, or it just doesn't fit in with your plans, you can pick up the Universal merchandise for just about all of those properties, including Harry Potter, in these merch shops that they have available.
Yeah, that's
So-
nice.
So there is a fee to park at City Walk, because really it's the same parking deck as parking for the theme park. So it is $32 to park. So unlike Disney Springs, which is free to park there. And City Walk is kind of like the main hub that you walk through when you're going to the Universal parks. So regardless of if you're planning to go to the theme parks, or you're planning to just spend the day at City Walk, you have to walk through City Walk to get to everything else.
You do also have to go through security to enter
Yes.
City Walk. So a couple times that we went to Disney Springs, we had to go through security. The last time we went, we did not have to.
Really?
We just walked in.
Right.
It was weird.
It was weird. I was like, did we? I actually was like, am I going through an exit? Like, did I go wrong?
Right.
But like, we just walked right by security guards, and there was no. So I don't know if it's because maybe it wasn't busy and they like felt confident in like their presence there, or I don't know what happened. But moral of the story is we did not have to go through security. But at City Walk, you do. So no matter
Because
where
that is
you're
the security checkpoint to get into the parks.
correct. And so like no matter where you are coming from, whether you're coming from a resort and you're walking to City Walk, there will be private security screenings, or you're coming from the parking deck. There's like a main hub area that kind of filters out to like, I'm going to say like half a dozen or so security checkpoints. You do have to go through security. So I know that, in this day and age, people are security conscious. So because that is the access point to Universal, you go through the security measures.
Well, and I feel like Universal has had that in place longer than Disney has.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely, because I think so. I went to Universal when I was a fairly young child, and I do remember going through security at the gates, and it was quite a crowd crush, right? There's still like some checking as you're going through, right? You might be randomly screened as you're entering the physical theme parks. You do have to do, just like in Disney, the little biometric
In the finger scan.
ET finger scan, right? So there is like still some security, but I think just with I think the setup allowed them to do this, and so they saw the opportunity to reduce the crowd crush at the top of the theme park, and so they just took the opportunity because it is a giant like rotunda that you enter into from the parking lot that then you use as your access point. So it makes total sense that they sort of minimized it, and also to help City Walk guests feel a little bit safer and making sure that nothing that shouldn't be on property is getting on property. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always
Sounds
peace of
like
mind.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like I'm for that. I'm for Disney security, Universal security. Yes, please keep us safe.
Yeah. And also, I feel like it makes it easier to get into the parks once you're through security. You can just walk right in rather than like at Disney. You're like, okay, like I see the gate, but I have to get through the security
Right.
line first.
It's multiple steps to get there.
Yeah.
Right.
It just reduces the friction of your
Right.
theme park day, which is nice.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. So we've got City Walk. What else
Yep.
do we have at Universal? Remind
So-
us.
Then we have our theme park. So we have Universal Studios Florida. So this was the first park to open within the resort. It opened in June of 1990. And it is, well, I made the distinction earlier about like the Universal Orlando Resort versus just Universal Studios or Universal Orlando, because Universal Studios is the specific theme park in the resort. So a lot of people do use the terms interchangeably. And in the grand scheme of things, everybody knows what you're talking about, but it matters to me. Yes, it matters to Duck, and for the purposes of the podcast and informing everybody, we wanted to make the distinctions. So then the other theme park that is currently open is Universal's Islands of Adventure. So this was the second park. So it's the newer of the two main gates that they have. So this park originally opened in 1999 and has some of the most popular attractions between the theme parks at the moment. Rides like Velocicoaster, Hagrid's Magical Motorbike Adventure, whatever. Well, there's like a 7,000 word.
Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure.
I think I have it later in the
remember
document,
that.
right? It's
Something like that.
Hagrid's.
Yeah.
Just gonna call it Hagrid's.
We'll read it off later when it's actually.
We actually talk about rides, yeah.
When we need to be specific, we will be.
Yes, exactly.
And then we have the water park on property, which is Volcano Bay. So there is some interesting history with this park. It has some rides and slides that were repurposed from another water park called Wet and Wild that used to be across the street.
Which I didn't know until our buddy Lem from Live Laugh Lem, formerly Magic Bands Trash Cans. We were with him, I think it was last year for HHN, and we were talking about it. And he's like, "Did you know that that's like a water park that opened in the 70s and was open for like 40 years?" And Universal bought the rights and bought the land, and then they actually moved it across the street from where it originally was. And one of their hotels sits on the original land, but a lot of the slides are like refurbished from Wet and Wild.
Hey, that's super smart. Like if you've got the means to do that, because that cut probably their cost in half and their production time in half, so they could have it open quicker.
Absolutely. And I think it was around the time that maybe it was Typhoon Lagoon was opening, and they wanted to have some sort of, maybe it was Blizzard Beach. I can never remember which of the two were newer. But yeah, one of Disney's water parks, and I think they saw the opportunity to compete. And they had owned a partial stake in Wet and Wild already, so then they just bought out the rest and then moved it across the street, and there you go, you have a water park.
Perfect. Love it. Okay, Duck, tell us about the new park that's coming. Give us just a brief rundown.
I'm gonna have to take a deep breath so I can be kind of chill about this. But it is called Epic Universe. It looks incredible. That's my brief rundown. No, it's a multi-billion-dollar park. The last estimate that I saw was that this cost them $7 billion with a B dollars to build and to open.
Whoa.
I know, it's shocking. We get a little bit more into the details of the offering later in like the, what each park is offering section. So I'm gonna be chill about it, but it is going to
be cool, Duck. Be cool.
You know me, just the chillest person to have ever lived.
Oh yes, so chill.
I've never been normal about anything in my life. But moral of the story is it's the newest, the biggest, the best theme park to their offerings, and it is like a full new park rather than just an addition of a coaster or two.
Yeah. And this park is in a separate location from the other two theme parks. So, like I said, where you walk into City Walk, and that is kind of your hub to get to the two theme parks. They're literally like the gates are right next to each other. It is not like that for Epic Universe. It is in a separate location.
They have actually, this is not that anyone wants a civil engineering lesson, but there was a big interchange right down the street and they completely reconstructed it. So Universal's buses will have their own lanes. So there is no concern of traffic or anything like that. You are going right from your resort or wherever, it might be the garage if you're, staying off property, right from there immediately to the to Epic Universe. You don't have to worry about Orlando traffic.
Yeah.
You were just going from point A to point B immediately. It's really interesting.
Now, is Epic going to have their own parking, or is that garage going to be where everybody that is off property is going to need to park?
So I have not seen anything be confirmed one way or the other. My suspicion is that they will have a parking lot on site initially for resort guests, because there is the Helios Hotel that is on site. And so my suspicion is that they really want to control the flow of people that are able to access this park because it is so hyped right now.
Right.
And there's so much to offer. So I think initially there will be no parking at Epic unless you're a resort guest. That's my suspicion.
Yeah.
And then probably maybe in like 2 years, then they will start opening up the parking there. Because they really are, limiting the tickets are coming out in waves, if anybody's unaware. So they really are limiting who can get what when. So I think because they're doing this sort of phased approach to tickets, I'm suspicious that there will not be parking on site, barring resort guests, for quite some time.
Yeah. And we don't know yet, right? We're still about 2 months out. So things could change between now and then. And they've also been very particular about pushing like multi-park and multi-day park tickets too.
It's like the only way to get access right
Well,
now.
I think
Unless you're like an AP.
they just released single day tickets like about a week ago ish. But they didn't start until like June. So June 1st was the first day that you could. So it makes sense that a lot of people are going to be parking or staying on property, right, at their resorts, which we'll get to in a later episode. But or if they're driving, they're going to end up parking at the City Walk central hub location and just taking the bus. Honestly, it'll be easier traffic wise because they don't want to cause massive backups on all those roads. So busing is going to be way easier because they can pipe through a ton of buses in their reserved lane.
Absolutely. It really, I'm quite impressed with the way that they are handling this rollout and the logistics around it. Sometimes it feels like, not Universal in particular, but just theme parks in general, they have these great ideas and they don't necessarily implement them in perhaps the best way. And I'm not even just talking about like Disney and Universal. I know that's really what but like even other parks that we have been to, right? Like Busch Gardens or Dorney Park, right? Like there are really fantastic ideas or really interesting rides or things that are appealing, and they don't always necessarily handle it in the best way. So I have been really impressed so far with the way that Universal is dealing with all of this.
Yeah, it's been good. So, okay. So that kind of gives us the rundown of the different items that we have. Let's talk just a little bit more. Just give us a little bit of a taste more about what each park has to offer. So that way people kind of get just a general overview of rides if they're trying to determine whether or not Universal is a good fit for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the way that we're going to do this is essentially going clockwise around each park. If you're looking at a map, we're going to go section by section, the different lands within each of the current 2 theme parks.
Okay.
And then we will deal with Epic Universe as a third. We'll deal with that later.
Perfect. That sounds great.
And within each section, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second, but within each section, we will be talking about like an attraction or two, right? To just get you an idea of these are some of their offerings. It might be a show, it might be a ride, it might be, a food offering, it just to give you a general taste of each of the current Universal parks.
Perfect. Love it.
So, Universal Studios. As we said before, that is the theme park, not the entire resort. But as soon as you walk through the gates in Universal Studios, you are smacked in the face with the minions.
I like you have confronted in the notes.
I did, right?
Just like an epic standoff with the minions.
That's kind of what it's like. You are certainly confronted with the minions. That is, you know what? I wrote that when I was exhausted, and it stands. You are confronted with these minions. But essentially, right when you walk in, immediately there are 2 Despicable Me rides, right? One is a motion simulator ride, and one is like a shooting gallery type ride. If you want to compare it to something at Disney, maybe something like Midway Mania would be an appropriate comparison. So once you escape the clutches of the minions, but does one ever really escape the minions? You end up in New York, which is literally what it sounds like. It's New York. Just for some context, when this was built, Universal Studios, it was inspired by the Hollywood Park backlot tour. So they thought, okay, what if you are walking into the movies, right? Like each section is themed to different movies that had occurred in these locations. So we have New York, San Francisco, etc. So we have New York, which is themed like a New York street. It's
There you go. There it is.
complete with pigeons. They took their theming very seriously. But our personal favorite attraction here is the Brendan Fraser themed roller coaster, Revenge of the Mummy.
Oh, thank you for acknowledging Brendan Fraser's role. Yes.
That is, if you are a coaster person, this is one of our favorites of all time. If you have
Best rides.
truly, it is one of the best rides in the park, especially if you are really big on coasters. There is a Hollywood version of it. I do feel the need to clarify this. It is different than the one in Hollywood because I've heard a lot of feedback from people who have actually done the Hollywood version of everything, but not felt like it made a difference to do the East Coast version. A lot of the rides they're just inherently different, especially when there's like even copies between the two. So our Revenge of the Mummy is much longer and different and more intense than the one in Hollywood. So just for anybody who's had the opportunity to ride the one in Hollywood and was disappointed, you may enjoy the one on the East Coast. Yeah. But if roller coasters aren't your jam, that is certainly not the only offering in the park and not in New York. There is also the Transformers 3D Dark Ride, which is really beloved. I see a lot of kids going on and off there and just begging to go right back on. More than that, though, I'm sure you've seen on social media the fantastic meet and greets that happen over there with the various Transformer characters, especially Megatron.
Yeah.
They're very funny, they're very interactive, and they're like actually 7 feet tall. It's
It's crazy. They're crazy. I remember because the one time I went to Universal, I did very little research because I was just like, listen, at that point in time, I was going to just like take in the vibes because, like I said, I was very early on in my pregnancy with my first. And I remember unintentionally walking by this meet and greet, and I was like,
it's startling.
what is that?
It's startling. It absolutely is. But it's really impressive and
crazy.
It's really like a lot of fun for adults and kids alike. It is a very fun meet and greet, and the stilt walker. I'm not sure what the performer friends with Megatron. I'm not sure. Performer. Yeah, we'll go. The friends with Megatron. That's what we're going to say.
Friend of Megatron.
Friend of Megatron. We're all friends of Megatron in this house.
It's true.
Is extremely funny. They're all very good at their job. So yeah, that's just, if rides aren't your thing, but maybe you really love Transformers or you have a kiddo that loves Transformers, that is a really fun thing to do in that area. All right, so once you are through New York, you end up in, shockingly, another city. You end up in San Francisco.
Wow. San Francisco.
Wow, Zurich.
Yeah. Across the country, just like that.
We're traveling by maps, all right? We're doing a map montage like in the Muppets.
Perfect. Love it.
So there was previously a different set of attractions in here, but the one that remains currently is I'm going to call it the infamous Fast and Furious ride. I'm not going to spoil a thing about this ride. This is something that you need to experience firsthand. I will say, if you are planning a trip to Universal, if that did not sell you, the one in Hollywood closed recently, so the fate of this one is unclear, especially because it has not been operating during Halloween season. The queue,
Queue for
yeah, is for
houses.
yeah, so it's like the backstage area, where the houses are. You queue through the Fast and Furious queue, basically. So,
Interesting.
it may not be long for this world, but we've been hearing rumors for years and years that it's going, and I think with Epic Universe, I just don't think that they're interested in touching too much in their main parks right now. So
No, they're not worried about anything going on at those parks at the moment.
that is
They opened a couple new things in the last year and they went, nah, that's good enough.
we kept it interesting enough.
Leave them
We're-
alone for a while.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
Pretty
that
much.
is- that is the bottom of the to-do
Right.
list right
Yeah,
now.
like,
So
are those parks functioning? Yes.
Great.
Great.
good enough.
Perfect.
So continuing on our loop around the park, once you go through San Francisco, you continue on to what I will call the first half of the Wizarding World. You end up in Diagon Alley. There are two halves to it that connect via the Hogwarts Express. It is a separate ticketed thing for you to ride the Hogwarts Express. You have to have the park-to-park ticket, including the train. You can go and look at the train if you want. You just can't physically ride it between the two parks. But
That's how they
here-
get you. That's how they get you, man.
and let me tell you, it works.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They sell about 1 billion of those tickets a day.
Right.
So, but in Diagon Alley itself, there really is only one true attraction, and that is the Escape from Gringotts coaster. Now, like I said, I know maybe not everyone is a coaster person, but I think that Diagon Alley is one of the best themed areas in a theme park. You truly feel like you have been transported into the Wizarding World in a way that I have only felt for a Disney comparison in Pandora, where I felt like I was being transported to an alien planet. I feel in Diagon Alley like I have been transported into the world of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
The theming is just truly impressive, and there is also a Nocturne Alley portion. For those of you who are like hardcore Harry Potter fans, or maybe just want a little bit of air conditioning, in the
Yeah, it's always very cold back there.
dude, it is not to totally blow up or spot or anything, but it is the coldest part of any theme park that I have. It is colder than the frozen bathrooms, than the Tangled bathrooms in Magic Kingdom. It is so comfortable back there on a hot day. Just saying.
There you go.
So, even if you're not like interested in spending money, it is really interesting to just go through the shops
Yeah.
and see the Ollivander's wand picking ceremony. That's really special. So, there's a lot. Even though there's not like a lot of attractions back there, the theming to it has made it like a really interesting and fun part of the park.
Yeah. Well, and it's like literally straight out of the movie and the universe.
Yeah,
Like
it
you
was like-
literally feel like you walked onto that movie set or
Yes.
that area from the books and the movies. It's pretty incredible to walk through there and to just like I remember the first time I walked in, I like stood at the entrance. It was just like, whoa, this is cool.
Yes. And I didn't know that the dragon blew fire. So I remember we walked in, you hear the bricks moving as if somebody just cast the spell and you're
Yeah.
entering. And then you walk in and it's just this beautiful, impressive street that, like you said, you feel like you're on that set. And all of a sudden the dragon roars and breathes fire. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? That was
It's
the
insane.
coolest thing.
Yeah.
It was
Every 10 minutes on the 10 is when that happens. Typically, unless there's issues, but every 10 minutes on the 10.
generally speaking.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's you know, the long and the short of it is, even if you're not into coasters, that's a very fun part of the park. Even if you're not a huge Harry Potter fan, it's just really cool to see the dedication and the time that they put into it. And it's also fun to see people try to cast spells with their little wands. It's a good time.
Yeah. And now we'll get more into rides on future episodes like we talked about, but do keep in mind that several of the ones that we've already mentioned and several of the ones that we will be mentioning are more screen-based rides rather than like practical effect rides. Some of them marry the two really well, but like I said, we'll get more into that. So just something to consider as you're listening to kind of this overview that we're giving right now, is that Universal, in comparison to Disney, has more screen-based rides and experiences overall.
Yes, that's definitely true. Good call out. Yes.
Where do we end up next?
You head over to World Expo. It used to be World Expo / Springfield because those two areas are right next to each other, but World Expo is literally just Men in Black. It's the Men in Black ride, which is a lot of fun. We do it every time. It's themed to the movies, and it's as if you're like a junior agent. It's a little shooting gallery game. It's a lot of fun. It's a great time. Try to push the big red button first. It's a good time. And then, as I was saying before, once you leave World Expo, you head over into Springfield, which is themed to The Simpsons. It's themed to Krusty Land for anybody who actually has seen The Simpsons, which I imagine maybe like 3 people on Earth haven't seen The Simpsons at this point. It's been going for longer than I've been alive.
It's been a couple decades since I watched it, but I watched it frequently when I was younger.
I recently have been doing a watch through of it.
We're still like in the 90s.
I started last year, and we are just getting to the point where I was in middle school when these were airing. It is crazy the number of episodes.
Yep.
But yeah, so there's 2 attractions in here. It's a tilt-a-whirl attraction, and there's a 3D motion simulator ride, which if you are sensitive to motion sickness, I have never gone on this because I have heard from people who aren't even particularly sensitive, it's a little rough. So if you're sensitive or you think it might be too much, you have a long day planned, maybe skip that. But instead, you can play carnival games and you can win prizes that are all like Simpsons characters. They have Moe's Tavern that you can eat at. They sell the giant donut. It really, there's other things
There's a
to
lot
do
of things to do there, yeah.
Isn't there like special, what is it, Duff beer that you can get there too?
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
You can
That's like
get it-
one of the big things there.
Yes, absolutely. You can get it in like the themed mug and everything.
Love it. Amazing.
I
Okay,
think-
what's after Simpsons?
So after Simpsons, you enter the Hollywood area of the park. So this is shows and rides here. The most popular ride is probably the ET ride. You basically are on a bicycle and you fly through the story of ET. It's really cool. In fact, it's so cool that my mom still talks about it 25 years later. It is still like one of her favorite rides of all time, truly.
Your mom has some serious opinions on these rides. What was it when we talked about the blind ranking episode? What was her one on there? That we talked about one ride on there.
Gosh, what was it?
Peter
Oh,
Pan.
Peter Pan. That's
Yes, Peter Pan. Yep.
One thing about Debbie, she's gonna have an opinion. You know, I love my mother so
And
much.
now we know where Duck gets it from.
First off, how dare the both of you accurately assess this? Second, it's also from my father, okay? There was no chance for me. Everybody has a strong opinion of my family.
I love that for you. And I love that for us. It's so enjoyable.
It makes things way more entertaining, truthfully.
It does. That it does. I love it.
Oh gosh. But okay, yeah, so back to the Hollywood section of the park. So once you're done flying through like your ET on the bike, there is also a stunt show. That was really great for anybody who's only listening. Jackie just pantomimed the bike.
I'm riding the bicycle. I'm
I
flying
really
into the air.
I really thought you were Elliot and ET was gonna pop up. I was so impressed. That was a great pantomime. Well, you would crush at charades. But once you are done cosplaying as Elliot from ET, you can check out the Jason Bourne stunt show, which is I think one of the best stunt shows. It's extremely popular. They do a lot of things. So if you're looking for a show, like if you enjoy to make the easy Disney comparison of the Indiana Jones stunt show, it's even a little bit more intense than that because Bourne is like an action movie. So it's extremely popular. Once we're done there, we can continue on to the DreamWorks themed area, which it's the newest portion of this park. It opened, I think it was just last year the whole thing opened.
That sounds right. About like a year ago-ish, I want to say.
Yeah, maybe it was early 24, but in other words, it really very recently in the grand scheme of things. So, excuse me. This is like the family-friendly area, or I should say the family-focused area of the park. It's got like DreamWorks themed playgrounds. There's like a Kung Fu Panda playground. It's adorable. There's a little family roller coaster called the Troll Coaster, themed to trolls. That's my favorite pun of all time. It's so good. As well as like a Shrek playground. And so this is really like, if you have younger children, this is definitely like the area that is for them specifically. There are, like I said, other things throughout the park, the meet and greets, the 3D rides that are approachable for families or for kids, but this is specifically geared for kiddos.
That's nice. I think that's a really smart addition that they made, right? I think it was much needed to have something that was like, yep, okay, we know we can go there and spend some time there with our little kids. We're
Right.
set with that.
Right. And I see it happen a lot, especially when there's like an age difference between the kids. That like one parent will take the kiddo to the DreamWorks area and the other parent will take the kiddo on whatever big kid ride that one wants to go to. So it's nice to have the option.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. So is that kind of the general layout of Universal Studios?
Because you continue on, you'll hit a bunch of shops, you'll hit a food place or two, and then you're back at the exit.
Perfect. Love it. I love it when parks make sense like that, right? When you just like you go in the circle and you're good to go.
Yes, a big fan of circles when it comes to parks. Yeah, absolutely.
Parks definitely flow very well at Universal.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. Okay, so let's hop on over a couple feet to Islands of Adventure.
Literally about 50 yards that way.
Yep. So Islands of Adventure is broken out into islands. I know that's hard to believe.
What?
I'm shook.
I thought they were archipelagos.
The archipelagos.
I think we need to sue. I've been misled.
Let us try. All right. So when you first walk in, you walk into the port of entry. And so there's no attractions up here. It's really just kind of like the main hub. There's some shopping and food and stuff. But then all of the islands kind of shoot off of the port of entry. So first up, we have Marvel Superhero Island. So you might be wondering, how is Marvel at the Universal parks? Like, what is going on? Disney owns Marvel. So there is a long and very complicated history of the Marvel properties with theme parks. So a long time before Disney had acquired the rights to Marvel and like started Marvel Studios and the Cinematic Universe and all of that, Marvel sold the theme park rights to Universal Studios, but only east of the Mississippi. And it was only certain characters. So that's why you don't see attractions and meet and greets and things like that with certain Marvel characters in Disney World, because Disney does not have the theme park rights for those characters. And unfortunately, it is a lot of the main MCU characters like Captain America and Spider-Man and the Hulk and a lot of really big characters. So that you do get, though, a lot of rides themed to those characters in this area. So there is a 3D motion simulator Spider-Man ride where you're literally kind of like zooming through the city, fighting all the classic Spider-Man villains. And there is a Hulk-themed roller coaster. This is one that I literally black out every time we ride it, but it is a lot of fun.
I've heard that from multiple people.
Not selling it.
What is going on with the Hulk roller coaster? Because I have heard that from multiple people that they have issues with that on that ride.
I think you've said it's when you get launched.
It's the launch, yeah.
It's the launch for you, but we've had other friends who have also kind of grayed out a little bit on it. I think it depends severely on where you're sitting and your height in the seat, and then therefore like how it will affect you.
Yeah.
Because when we sit in the front, I have no problem. I'm okay. But no matter where we sit, when we launch and you're looking right up into the sun, you like kind of get dark for a second.
Launch and then you do like a loop, but you're like looking straight up at the sky, and it just, something about that motion just makes me black out. So something to be aware of if you are like sensitive to motion kind of things, which I'm usually really not, and it still gets me. So it's still a fun ride, but if you're like freaked out by that, like I'll still ride it every once in a while. But sometimes I pass.
And again, like you truly, I hate to say this is like, you just have to know yourself, right? But like, if you are an avid coaster person, you probably know what types of rides you can and can't do.
Right.
And you know, like where is usually more intense. So like I said, when we're in the front, the first like 4 or 5 rows, I'm totally good. But when we were in the back row, it was a little bit more rough riding. So I also have a problem when we're towards the back. But this is just, I don't think it's like a huge thing. It's not like anyone, unless you have like a severe medical condition, in which case, please don't ride it.
Right. Please check with your doctor.
Yeah.
Yes. Stevie put it well. It really depends on what your plans are after the ride. So maybe ride this towards the end of the day, just in case.
It's time to like sit at the end, or if this is your last stop of the day, that would be good. But another note on the Spider-Man ride. So Duck usually does not do like those 3D motion simulators, but this one is actually something that they can ride, and
Yes.
like it's totally fine for them. So
I think it's because in
you win
terms
some, you
of
lose some.
12. Yeah, you win. That's right. Flip a coin. But I think if you also are a motion sickness person, this ride actually moves rather than you just being
Hmm.
in like something like the Millennium Falcon, where it just kind of is chucking you back and forth to simulate the motion. You are still on a track. You are physically moving through the space. And I have found for me, as long as I'm moving, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So
It's a little more like Remy and less like Star Tours.
yes,
Yeah.
that's an excellent
Good
comparison.
comparison.
Yes, because you do have the glasses on, you are moving through space, you do kind of do a motion on a track. So that's an excellent comparison.
Absolutely.
I try.
And then there's also meet and greets in this area, like greets with Spider-Man, Storm, and Captain America. So after that, we come to Toon Lagoon. So this was kind of the water park kind of area before they had Volcano Bay. So there are 2 water attractions here. One is a log flume themed to Dudley Do-Right, and then the other is a Popeye themed river raft ride. You'll get absolutely soaked on both of these rides. So just that heads up if you don't enjoy water rides.
Yeah, head to toe. There's no escaping it.
No, not at all.
I will not be going on those.
Me
Yes.
either.
We pass every time.
I'll go walk through the store and maybe like check out some Betty Boop merch or something, but that's about it.
Perfect. Love it.
Our next island is Skull Island, and it really is just one attraction, which is Skull Island Reign of Kong. It's a trackless dark ride, so you basically get put in like a giant bus, and it shakes and moves you around, and that's all that's really there.
It's cool.
It's cool.
If you're like a big King Kong fan, super
Yeah.
cool. But
Yeah, absolutely.
it's okay otherwise.
Yeah. The next kind of islanderland is Jurassic Park. So this is a really beloved area of the park, and it's honestly one of our favorite areas. So the central kind of hub of this land has a small museum with interactive exhibits, and it really makes you feel like you are truly on Isla. I'm sorry,
Island Nublar.
Isla Nublar. I didn't even know it had a name.
Oh, there's several islands. Do you want me to
I'm
go
not
off
that much of a Jurassic Park nerd.
Do
I
you
don't know.
want me to go off on a Jurassic Park tangent? I can do it.
No, we're good. Not on this
I think-
podcast, dear.
I think we're good. Maybe another time. Put a pin in that.
We'll do a whole Jurassic Park themed episode.
This is where I don't let Duck know that I've never seen Jurassic Park.
That's okay.
No.
We can correct that.
There's still
There's
Jack.
there's an easy remedy for that.
My husband has been trying, and I'm just like, I don't. He loves those movies.
Yeah.
Read the book, like all of that. I'm just like, I'm good. I'm good.
That's okay.
It's okay.
You will watch it soon.
Yeah.
I will probably have to watch it to help. I'll probably have to watch it to help screen it before my oldest watches it, because like
Yes.
dinos are his life. So like he's seen like Lego, Jurassic Park, and some of that kind of stuff. But like I'm gonna probably have to help screen the movie before he watches it. So
Oh yeah.
I think I saw that. No, of course, every kid's different, but I think I saw that movie when I was like, maybe I was like 7 or 8, or maybe I was even a little younger, because I also had my older sister, and like,
Yeah, I was like 5.
yeah,
no, he's 8 and fully not ready for that movie.
Yeah, and that's
I was terrified of them as a kid, so if he's more sensitive like I was.
I, on the other hand, was like, that's so cool.
Just gonna eat.
And that,
Yeah.
in a nutshell, is Duck and Jess's relationship.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So
I love
to
it.
the theme park.
Right.
Fine.
Focus. Sorry.
So-
That was my fault.
No, it's okay. So some of the big highlights of this area are the Velocicoaster. If you are a roller coaster person, this is like easily the coolest, best roller coaster I think I've ever been on. And the Jurassic Park River Adventure. It's kind of the best comparison is Tiana's Bayou Adventure in Disney World. But it's a little bit more thrilling, I would say.
Look, it's the same thing. It's got animatronics. You're on a nice boat ride. There's a log flume drop at the end. It's the same thing.
Dinosaurs aren't trying to eat you on Tiana's, but it's okay.
I don't know. Lewis looks a little hungry. He's
Thank
close
you.
enough.
He's
That is
basically
true.
a dinosaur.
Got it. They also have a little like dinosaur kind of meet and greet area, which is super cool as well. And then we get to Hogsmeade, which is the second of the Harry Potter lands in Universal. So it literally looks just like you're in Hogsmeade, and then in the back of the section is the Harry Potter Hogwarts castle. So if you didn't know, there is a ride inside of the castle, and that is one of the big draws of that area. It is called Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. And so it's it's got screens, and it's a little bit of a motion simulator. So it can be one that kind of bothers some people who have those kind of motion issues.
But I'm okay on
But
this
yeah,
ride.
another
because,
one that
again,
Life is okay with.
we're moving through
yeah.
space. So these, I will say, when we first rode it, I had a little bit more of a problem. I think a lot of people did, but they did make some modifications a couple years ago. Not
Mhm.
really to the ride, but to the smoothness of the motion.
Yeah.
So since they have
That's-
corrected it, I have not had a problem.
Yeah. This is one that can be a little scary for kiddos, though, even if they're tall enough to ride it. It's got Dementors and the spiders and all kinds of different scenes and areas from the movies. So if you have a kiddo that is a little bit more sensitive to stuff like that, it might not be a ride for them. Maybe show them like a ride through before they go on it so they know. And then one of their newest roller coasters, I think the newest roller coaster in Islands of Adventure, is Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. That is
There it is.
there it is.
We did it.
Yes, a lot of people who are big theme park enthusiasts say that it is one of their favorite roller coasters on the East Coast. And so some other attractions at Hogsmeade, if you're not really like a roller coaster person or a rides person, is the Three Broomsticks restaurant. And also Honeydukes, the candy store. It has pretty standard like theme park food, but kind of with like a Harry Potter twist to it. So if you're big fan of the movies, it's definitely something to check out, or books, I should say too.
Those chocolate frogs are super good.
They are.
I have to say, they're actually really good.
And they come with little cards and everything. It's so cute.
Which, as we all know, if it's got a trading card, I must have it.
So after you leave Hogsmeade, the next area we come up to is the Lost Continent. There is currently nothing there. There was like a walkthrough attraction, but they closed that a couple years ago.
There also used to be a Sinbad show that was really cool. I like have such a vivid memory of it as a kid. We actually went through, so it's still there. So like some behind the scenes stuff. We walked through that. Do you remember when we were when I was on the tour, I think? We walked through and we're like, what is this giant stage with water underneath it? And it's like all these rocks, and we're like, what is this? And it dawned on me, that's where the old Sinbad show used to be. This was like 100 years ago at this point, but
Is that where the Poseidon show was?
yes.
Okay.
Not Poseidon Adventure.
Poseidon's Fury.
Thank you. Yes, Poseidon's Fury.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just always hear about that's Poseidon. It's closed. That's about it.
Rumor has it it's being rethemed, but we're not really certain the fate of this area of the park. But there's just currently nothing to do there.
Okay.
All right, moving on.
There's an interactive fountain. I just remembered this. If you have a kiddo that loves touching things, there's an interactive fountain.
Or
it's
that
great.
likes touching things.
How dare you? Yes, that's why I know it's there.
Hey, it's important to note clearly.
It is.
Anyway, after we walk through that,
After you walk through that,
Where are we
we're next landing. So this is the kids area of Islands of Adventure. So it literally is like you just walked into like How the Grinch Stole Christmas or like any other Dr. Seuss property. So much like the DreamWorks area, while some of the scenery is showing its age, it is a well-loved part of the park. So the Carousel Seuss stage show and the Cat in the Hat dark ride are some of the most popular things to do in this area. During the holidays, there's Grinch meet and greets and all kinds of fun things to do in this area. So it is very cute. And the Grinch ride, or the Cat in the Hat ride, I'm sorry, usually does not have a very long wait. So it is a nice little like trip through the air conditioning.
It's a trip already.
It is a trip. It is a trip. But it's fun to go and to visit, and especially if you have little ones, it is, something that they can do in the park.
Anna in my side says, just said kids area, but it's my favorite part of the park. And I think that's so true.
Okay, Anna.
Because here's the thing I think about the Seuss area, kind of akin to what we were talking about with the Harry Potter areas, is it's super immersive. Like
It is.
everything, all of the buildings, like it feels very Disney-esque inside of a Universal park. So like I totally get that. It was my favorite area when we went because I was like, first of all, it was like the area I spent the most time in because I was pregnant and couldn't ride much,
Right.
you know.
Because you
couldn't
could
hang
hang
out
there.
I was cleared to ride a lot. I didn't choose to ride much because I didn't want to get
Right.
ill. And so I like all the rides in there. I was like, yep, this is what we're doing. This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm hanging. So like the high in the sky trolley train, Seuss trolley train ride, like went on that a couple times.
At this
They
park.
really do.
They sure do. But I totally get that. And yes, Anna, I was also a teacher. So like, I get that.
Yeah, no judgment. When we say kids area, we want to be clear. We're not judging anybody.
No,
who's
absolutely
that
not.
it's
We
their favorite
love
section.
kids areas. Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is not like we're not passing judgment at all. It's all very
Just letting people know it is safe for your kiddos. There are things that they can ride and can do and participate in there. Because not every area of, especially the Universal parks, is kid friendly in that way. So,
or we should say kid focused in
right.
that way.
Yes.
Right. And some places are, like we said, they're specifically designed for that.
Yes.
This area, the DreamWorks area, specifically designed for that. And Anna's saying she is not taking it personally. She knows. She just...
We love you, Anna.
Want to make sure.
We don't want anyone's feelings
No.
hurt.
No, not at all. Okay, so that is like the end of our Islands of Adventure
Yes.
islands that we have, right?
That's the very last one.
Okay, so Duck has been waiting to give us
Giving us some out.
Epic Universe
To be so normal
Brief.
about this.
brief overview.
I
Because
really
we're going brief
I
here.
need to let you all know that I typed and retyped the section 4 times because every time I'm like, this is too much. No one's going to listen to all this. This is not what people want. So I included a little backstory for some of the sections that I felt it was important, and I really contained myself. So you're welcome, everybody.
And like we said, we will go into more detail on all of these attractions and things that these different
Yes.
places have to offer in a future episode. We're just doing an overview to give you kind of a taste for this one. So
Yes, absolutely.
let's talk about Epic Universe, Duck.
So, all right. So the way that Epic Universe is, like we said, that's the newest park. Just for anybody who is unfamiliar with the names, this is that new park that is kind of separate and is the $7 billion one. That's all. This is all one and the same. So this is, I think it's going to end up being maybe my favorite laid out park because of the way that they have it set up. So you have this hub area, which is Celestial Park, right? And sort of to go into like the theming of it a little bit, conceptually, because this is the hub, it's like this ethereal plane in the universe. And you go to, if you think about it like a hub and spoke, you go to all these different spokes of all these different universes. You are walking through the portals into these different universes, right? So
Think like Magic Kingdom, how everything
Yes.
spokes off of Main Street and the castle.
absolutely, absolutely. So you are entering these different universes as you would enter the different lands within Disney. Excellent comparison. So in contrast though to the way that like IOA, Islands of Adventure, is set up, where Port of Entry is sort of that main hub, Celestial Park has attractions. So the big draw in Celestial Park is definitely the dueling coaster. It's called Stardust Racers. And for anybody who doesn't know, because you're unfamiliar with theme park terminology, a dueling coaster is exactly what it sounds like, where you have two sides of the coaster. They will launch simultaneously, and there are two separate tracks. So it's two separate experiences that you will have depending on which side of the coaster that you are riding, and they intertwine at a couple different points. So it feels like you are racing your companions on the other side of the track.
And they get really close. Like I was watching some videos. They get so close that like if people were too tall, you could like almost high five the person on the other cart.
Yes, it is
Whoa.
shockingly close, and I think there is a height limit. It's extremely tall. I think it's something like 8 feet or something. It's like a very small percentage of the population. Yeah,
Basketball players, NBA stars.
yeah. I hope no one who wins any sort of NBA tournament wants to go ride this because that's not going to work out.
No, or they'll run one train at a time. It's not a dueling anymore. It is a singular Stardust coaster.
An independent launch Stardust coaster. But the other thing, if coasters aren't your thing, but you still want to experience, something there, they do have what looks to be maybe the most beautiful carousel I have ever seen in a theme park. It is gorgeous. It is like you are in this stained glass area, and it's different zodiac signs or like the little critters that you're riding. It's so cool. It is really like, I can just, again, I'm like trying to be chill about this, but you can just feel the love that went into this. It is really cool. To now start talking about the different spokes or the different universes that you will enter as you leave Celestial Park. We're gonna start with what's 100% gonna be my favorite, Dark Universe. I'm so sorry, I will not be normal about this. It's not gonna happen. So this is an area that is themed entirely to the classic Universal monsters. But what is extra cool is they are introducing characters like tied into the story that are theme park specific. So what I'm really talking about is this is called Darkmoor Village. This is like this village that is being cursed or attacked by various universal monsters. And the great, great, great granddaughter of Dr. Frankenstein is now trying to carry on her grandfather's work to reanimate a monster, as well as learn how to control these other creatures, Dracula, the Wolfman, etc., that are attacking this village. So that is the overarching theme of this. Within here, there's a couple of different rides. There's different themed places to eat. But the ones that I want to call out are the Monster Makeup Show, which you get to become a monster. It is really cool. This is like gonna be so near and dear to my heart. I'm just gonna be like, I don't care that I'm gonna be a 30-year-old adult running around with Wolfman makeup. It is going to happen. Sorry, everybody.
Just be ready.
Yeah. Emotionally,
I will have to emotionally prepare myself.
and sorry in advance for all of the weird Instagram pics that I will be posting. That's yes, the Wolfman. It's just gotta happen.
TikToks are about to be wild.
They're gonna pop off.
Better follow now so you don't miss any of it.
So out of pocket. Never heard of a pocket.
Never heard of a
So in addition to the monster makeup show, there is themed eating areas, including eating inside a burning windmill pub, which of course the famous Frankenstein reference of the burning windmill. As far as rides go, there's a werewolf themed, they call it a spinning coaster. I assume it's probably something like Guardians, maybe, where there's, the different show scenes that you will be spun to look at as you're going through. But there have been no real further confirmation of anything from any official sources so far. And then, of course, the shining crown jewel of this area will absolutely be Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experiment. If you guys have seen any videos of any animatronics from this area online that look shockingly lifelike, that's what this is from. This is going to be, it's an arm dark ride. So it's actually the same aperture as the Forbidden Journey in the castle in Hogwarts. So it is like you are on that arm, and it is that motion simulator bringing you through these different scenes, and you're running away at one point or what have you. So it is that same sort of mechanic. Okay, so now that I think I have spoken a normal amount about
You did great. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Again, not kidding, had to rewrite it 4 times. We can now move on to the next universe, which is going to be How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk. If anybody is a fan of the How to Train Your Dragon series, this is canonically taking place between films 2 and 3.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I knew it was, I've seen, I think, the first movie. I think I've maybe seen the second movie. I like the movie. It's cute. But I didn't realize it was very pinpointed and specific.
Yes, it is. I was a little surprised that they did that. Just because, I figured that they would make it either open-ended, so it occurred, long after, or they would do what they did with Dark Universe, which is like create a story within the park that is independent of the movies or anything. But
yeah, they're gonna run into the Galaxy's Edge problem, but that's fine.
Well, maybe
We'll
not,
see what happens.
Yeah,
You never know.
it's 50-50.
Right. You never know.
Because they may choose to update it, right? There's nothing here I other than maybe the stage show and some props that make it feel like it's set in stone to that area, but
Right.
we'll have to see, when we actually have some more access to it. But it is what surprised me is that this is the biggest area of the park, like by far. It is gigantic in there. And so this has the most attractions that are currently open. Of course, there's room for expansion behind all of these, but for right now, it has the most attractions. This is very much like, again, not that it's, everything you have to be a kid to enjoy this, but this is the most kid-friendly section of the park for sure. There is, specifically, they've called it a family launch coaster. So I imagine that is going to be, again, the specs aren't out. It's a little too early days for that. But that seems to be maybe if you have a kid who's like ready for a junior coaster, this might be a good place for them. There's also an interactive boat ride, which I'm interested to see how it will be interactive. Again, no details on that. As well as a stage show that's going to be featuring Hiccup and Toothless, and a large play area that they've called Viking Training Camp, which is basically just letting your kiddos run around and play various Viking games. It looks really cute.
Love that. And can we talk about briefly, because we're not getting into this, but like the dragons that they have for the meet and greets?
Oh my
Look
god, you
incredible.
shocking.
Like,
It's this
what?
again, not to go off on a tangent and talk too much about it, but this really feels like they cared so much, right? That they were like, we're making this investment and we're going big, right?
Yeah.
This is the move. And it also felt like so much of what they had done previously in the parks, like for example, the animatronic, I think it's Blue that you get to meet in the Jurassic area, right? Like there's that
Mhm.
animatronic dinosaur, that they just took that and they saw how well guests reacted to it, and they saw that that technology was good but could be improved on, and they did
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
Well, and they're like, aren't there like they're attempting to like fly dragons in the air and things? Like,
Yeah.
what?
It's
What?
bonkers.
It's literally bonkers. Like, it's
It's
gonna be crazy.
it's genuinely shocking to see that they put that they did it. You know what I mean? That they
Yeah.
really went for it. So
Well,
I'm
and
impressed.
it's so exciting to see because they are now setting the bar for everything else that comes afterwards. So, like, everything that we get from these other theme parks, Disney or not, everywhere else too, like, everyone's gonna have to step up their game. And I think that is
Absolutely.
great to have in the theme park space, these different parks pushing each other forward. Love it.
Absolutely. And I think especially in the post-COVID slump, a lot of theme parks, and this is not, to be clear, I know a lot of people say this specifically about Disney. This is not just Disney. This is
Right.
everyone across the board, right? You can even just go to like a local fast food joint and it just feels different, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so it just feels like because Universal really stepped up to the plate and is, like you said, setting the bar and is like, well, we are investing in this and we are taking it seriously. We're not just going to cut it. The entertainment will be there. The value will be there. They're pushing the boundaries. Those animatronics, not just of the different dragons, but I literally thought it was a man in a Wolfman suit when I saw that animatronic for
Right.
I'm not kidding. I literally was shocked.
Yeah.
So the fact that they are pushing these technological boundaries really makes me hopeful for the things that could be to come in other theme parks. Absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. What comes after Isle of Berk?
So once you have decided that you have trained your dragon and you're ready to skedaddle on out of there, you can head over to Super Mario World, which is incredible. This Super Mario World, in some form or fashion, does exist in two other places. It exists in Japan. That's where it originally opened, in Universal Studios Japan. Ours is separated into two sections. We have the Super Mario area and we have the Donkey Kong area. The Super Mario area is exactly what you think it is, right? If you've seen pictures online, that's what it is. It's the Mario Kart, it's the Yoshi ride, which is super cute because it's like you're riding on Yoshi. It's the cutest thing ever. As well as the Toadstool Cafe, right, where you get all the fun Super Mario themed snacks and drinks and sandwiches and things like that. But what we have that other places do not is the Donkey Kong section, which features, it's called Minecart Madness. If you've ever played a Donkey Kong game or even seen like a Donkey Kong advertisement, you know that giant ape rides around in minecarts. Like, it is literally his job. What is really cool about this is a little inside baseball. So if you don't want spoilers as to how ride mechanics occur, that's okay. We can skip, but it's
Just plug your ears for 30 seconds.
fast forward like 30 seconds. Instead of your wheels attached to your cart being what's on the track, there's actually an arm that goes down at 90 degrees and sits sideways, and those are the wheels of the track. So you don't see it, and you come at certain parts, it looks like you're jumping over broken track, and they can do that because you're kind of on this arm that is not directly on the track. It is so innovative. It is so cool.
Crazy. Okay, you're good now for anyone who was plugging their ears.
Yeah. Great stuff. Welcome back to the party.
Yes, it looks very, very cool. And I remember when the first video footage started to come out and everyone was like, wait, what?
What are you doing that?
Yeah,
Yes.
magic.
That's-
Universal magic. I love it. That one's going to be fun.
Yes, so I'm very excited for that one. So once you've decided that you have ridden Yoshi enough and you've had your fill of your various Super Mario themed treats, then we can head over to the Harry Potter area here. Or I guess they call it the Wizarding World, the Ministry of Magic. So this area is like shockingly under wraps for the details of it. We know a few
Interesting.
things. They have trickled out some information. We know a little bit more, actually, as of I think yesterday or 2 days ago. We know a little bit more than we did at any point prior to this. So we know that there's definitely 2 attractions in here. One of them is the Cirque Arcanus, which is it's in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, but here it is going to be a stage show that, as Universal puts it, is a, quote, spectacular mix of live performers, amazing puppetry, dazzling special effects, and more. I don't know what the and more is, but I'm interested to find out. So, other than that, the other attraction in here is called Harry Potter and the Battle for the Ministry. Oh, sorry, and the Battle at the Ministry. And my favorite descriptor that I keep seeing, because all the articles quote each other, is it's called an elevator dark ride. Which, like, I guess that's technically true. You're technically in an elevator, I guess, because what this is themed to, for anybody who is in the Harry Potter fandom, is that this basically is supposed to take place immediately after the battle at Hogwarts, and this is Umbridge has been arrested and is trying to escape, and you are in the Ministry somehow interfering, somehow there. We don't know those details yet, but that's the general storyline of it, is that you're going through the Flu network either to escape or to catch her. We don't really know.
I feel like it's going to be kind of terror-esque.
Oh, it
If
could
they're
be.
describing it as like an elevator.
That's what I think of, like elevator or like the Guardians ride out in Disney, in Disneyland. Yeah, so something like that. Well, and something to be said that Duck mentioned, this is called the Ministry of Magic. So it's this particular Harry Potter area is not based on those movies, the original set of 7 books and 8 movies. So this is based more on the Fantastic Beasts IP side of the Harry Potter universe. So you're going to get more of that with this, which is kind of fun and a different take on that whole franchise, which is nice. But okay, is that kind of the short version of
I think it has to be.
Epic Universe?
I think if we let me go on any more about Epic Universe, it will turn into 3 hours. So we're gonna, for everyone's sake, I'm cutting myself off here.
I'm very proud of you. That was a great overview. Props to Duck. Good job. You did it. I'm proud of you.
I will have a piece of chocolate later to reward myself. Thank you.
And that being said, like we mentioned, there are at least 2 more episodes to come in this series where we will go into more in-depthly and we will let Duck off of their proverbial chain to give us all of the other information that they are just dying to share.
You can't stop me.
Today is not that day.
Yep, nope.
So I think that's kind of the gist of the general information. But do we have a couple other thoughts about maybe some age ranges that would be ideal for these different main parks? Because we didn't really talk much about the water parks. That's to come. But these are just kind of your general 3 theme parks.
Again, for everybody's sanity, we had to draw a line as to where to cut it off.
We sure did.
And not that I don't think that Volcano Bay, excuse me, not that I don't think Volcano Bay is wonderful or deserves a full day. It's just, in the grand scheme of things, I don't know that when we're talking about if a theme park interests you, that like the additional water park will be the make or break draw. Maybe for some people it will be, but in my experience and talking to people into going to Universal, that's not usually the make or break point. So we'll talk about it in another episode.
We're not big water park people either.
I won't go. I will not go. I will not do a water park. So no thanks.
Yeah. The theme parks themselves is mostly our expertise.
Yeah.
So
And maybe we just need to do a whole like Orlando area water park episode and just give you all of them in one place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
That might be a better way to do that. I mean, we will definitely talk about Volcano Bay,
Absolutely, yeah.
but
No, of course.
I'm just pondering that. Okay, so yes, give us some information about age ranges and what you guys kind of feel for the different parks.
Yeah, so we kind of wanted to wrap up with this because kind of the whole purpose of this series about Universal is to really kind of showcase how accessible it can be for families and kids and kind of help you all decide if this is kind of the right move for you in terms of a future Orlando vacation. So, our controversial take is that there really is no wrong age for Universal. Like we said earlier, like that might have been true once upon a time, right, where you really had to be tall enough for roller coasters and things like that. It was a lot of like bigger, better, faster coasters and things like that. But they've made a lot of additions in recent years, and the entertainment offerings have increased. So, really, no matter where you are, whether you're a big rides person or not, whether you have little kiddos or not, there is something at Universal that you can enjoy.
Yeah, and if you're concerned about like height requirements and things like that, we'll go over all of that in our future episodes when we get to those specific attractions. Because don't get us wrong, there are definitely height requirements for the majority of the attractions at Universal. So that is something to consider when you're looking at this as well.
Mhm. Absolutely. And so yeah, we'll go over it all in future episodes. The most important thing to kind of think about when you're, considering going to Universal is what appeals to my family, right? So, not everything there might appeal to you guys. Maybe Disney makes more sense for the things that you like and you're into, or one of the other theme parks in the Orlando area. But if there are things that appeal specifically to your family, don't rule it out. Do your research. Listen to our podcast episodes about it, and
good plug.
and then make your final decision. And definitely the addition of Epic Universe is really something that I think is going to increase the appeal of Universal. So if you're big Halloween people and like horror nights, Dark Universe is going to be something that really appeals to you. It might be your new favorite. For people with kiddos, the Isle of Berk would be perfect, and the Mario Land I think can appeal to everybody, because who doesn't have fond childhood memories of playing Mario Kart and yelling at your siblings? and and kiddos of course still love it too, with all the movies and everything like that. um so there is definitely a lot that is kid friendly, family friendly, in the works, especially with Epic Universe.
Yeah, and I think if you're someone who likes the IP, which is, the intellectual property, the movies, the themes that are there at Universal, like that is worth a trip there.
Yeah.
Don't let the worry and the stigma of, oh, your kids need to be 10 before they can go, stop you from going and experiencing it. If it's within your budget and your wheelhouse, and if you're able to get there, there's lots of other contributing factors. But like if you're heavily considering it and you love some of these movies and franchises, take a trip.
Yeah. Even if you don't like rides, just walking, if you're a big Harry Potter fan, just walking around those lands
Right.
is incredible, because again, you really feel like you are on the movie sets and in the world. So you can just walk around, go in the shops all day, and like be just as entertained as if you went onto a ride. So it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that surprisingly, we made it through. We did it in a record time tonight.
Reasonable time.
You're so welcome for rewriting Epic Universe.
So proud of you.
So that way it wasn't an hour unto itself.
Hey,
Welcome,
listen,
everyone.
if you need an entire episode to rant and rave about Epic Universe, I will give you that platform back.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to take you off on that as we get closer to the opening, so we know more details. So
Perfect.
that way I can properly
Yes.
foam at the mouth.
Absolutely.
When I'm ranting, I like to be properly informed. That's my feeling.
I love it. That's perfect. So yes, our plan is next episode we will be talking more about a little bit more logistics about the park. So the hotels and the tiers and kind of how that breakdown and price breakdown looks like, ticket prices, things like their express passes, which is their version of Lightning Lane, if you're familiar with the Disney lingo, before we jump into the third episode in the series as we're planning now. Granted, this may change if we find we have a lot more to talk about.
Third with an asterisk.
Yes, exactly. Will be more of a detailed look at each park and kind of an idea of what is best for each age and height requirements and what the rides more specifically look like. So that is what's to come. And lucky you, our next podcast episode is part 2 of this series. So you don't have to wait long because we have some schedule adjustments with some vacations and trips and work trips and things like that happening in the next several weeks. So we get a double back-to-back episode from Duck and Jess. So part 2 of this will be our next podcasted episode, which is very exciting. Okay,
We
so
did it.
any final thoughts before we completely wrap this episode?
I think the only thing I really want to reiterate is that don't be afraid to try the new theme park, right? I think that there is a lot of people who are diehard Disney people,
Mm.
and that's fantastic. We absolutely are diehard Disney people over here too. But I think that you are doing yourself a disservice by not checking out other theme parks. Of course, we're specifically talking about Universal, but
Right.
for a long time we only went to Disney too, and then once we broke out into Universal, we haven't looked back, right? We split our trips as best as we can now. We do horror nights every single year. So really there's a lot to offer. Even if you're not a big ride person and like maybe the coasters don't appeal to you, just walking around and experiencing something different. The food offerings are actually pretty good. I know it's still theme park food, but they're
Right,
still
right.
comparatively pretty good. Experiencing City Walk, experiencing the shows, especially like that Bourne show. There's a monster makeup show even in Universal. So I think it's in the studios. So there's so much that is offered at Universal that is so different from Disney. Don't be afraid. If you're
Yeah.
even considering it, just take a day, right? If it's
Mm.
within your budget, do the 1-day park to park ticket, right? So that way you can experience both. You don't have to do every single thing in every park. Do the morning in one and the afternoon in the other.
And I feel like you can get a lot done even just doing that. It's just
Definitely.
get a little bit of exposure. That was how we did it the first time.
Yeah. And maybe in that future episode, we can talk a little bit of logistics on like, hey, here's a 1-day plan. If you want to do both parks that are currently open, let's hit the highlights. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's
love it.
for sure.
Perfect. Love it. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of Mom Street USA. As always, if you have additional questions or you've got ideas for future topics for us to cover, please reach out. We would love to hear from you. You can find us momstreetusa@gmail.com if email is your preferred method of communication. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook at Mom Street USA as well. And always on our Discord server that we are a part of. Our good friend Kirk at Walrus Carp has generously allowed us to have channels on his Walrus Carp Discord server, so you can find us on there as well. All of the links to that all is in our Mom Street USA bio on whatever social media platform you find us. So please reach out. We would love to hear from you and get feedback on all these fun new topics that we're covering. So
And if you just want to chat about Epic Universe, I'm so there.
there you go. That's it. That's perfect. Well, again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Duck and Jess, for all the wonderful information for this episode. And we will see you guys next time on Mom Street USA.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.